I don't want to give the impression that I'm like anti-plants, like no, we shouldn't do it. I personally feel that it's not my path because I'm working with the Eastern tradition. It's such an intense degree with all the other yogic stuff and the mantras that particular chemical from the Eastern tradition, it could be explosive if I mix in the plant stuff right now. And so and I'm also a little bit in like timeout, like you went a little bit too fast. We put you in the car and you just immediately went to 120 miles an hour. You kind of burned out the engine. You got to just give it some time, man. So that's for me personally, but I absolutely believe that the plants can be facilitating of tremendously healing experiences. I mean, the way that I started this interview was talking about the way that it transformed my relationship with my family, with my lineage, with my sense of place that I don't think would have ever come from the Eastern side. That's not part of the discussion. There's absolutely value to the embodiment that the plant tradition offers. But it's just remembering that, in Buddhism, they have a term, you can respect the local spirits. That can even mean gods, everything. You just don't put them on your crown as like your teacher to infinite. You just don't give them that last bit. It's like friends. Like you can hang out with the friends and you help each other out as much as you need, but you don't necessarily bow at the feet of your friends and say, please guide me and like show me the way to permanent fulfillment of my soul. It's like we can be friends with these plants and the lineages that come with them, but we don't necessarily have to completely kind of like lay our spiritual sovereignty completely, because we're in a unique position as the bridge between the East and the West. And so I think in one of my other podcasts, in the context of Hinduism, I was talking about how there's a little bit of value of being like a Westerner or like a white person studying Hinduism, because I'm not culturally bound to adhere to a particular view. If I'm born into a Brahmin family whose parents, have been the custodians of the temple for the past 16 years, I'm not going to break that chain. Like there's too much weight there for me to even think outside the box. But as somebody now, like I don't have a lineage anymore. Like I don't know what my ancestors were doing. So yeah, I might as well look at things like objectively and neutrally and compare different views to see what one works best. And so that's kind of like our medicine, is the ability to kind of try different things and see how things intertwine and maybe make changes. Whereas an indigenous person, and like a Huni Queen tribe member, because they're born into that lineage, they have a little bit more of an obligation to represent that. And our job is not necessarily to take on that level of obligation. Our job might be to be like, okay, like I meditated with TM for this many years, and that was that. Now I'm doing this for this many years, and that's that. Like,
Mm.
how do they mix together? And that process is like integral for the future. Like, if we don't do this process responsibly, the whole thing is gonna collapse, I think, because the plant traditions are now sitting at the table of world religions. We have, all of them in there's Catholicism and, Buddhism and the Islam and everybody. Now all of a sudden, psychedelics and whatever that crazy implications that term means, has pulled a seat up at the table and says, "I'm here as a path. Now integrate me," you know? And
Yep.
that's a long conversation that's gonna take many decades and many people's trial and errors. And my contribution is just the little infinite have a daily practice part. But I am personally, in my studies, I'm looking into some aspects of the tantric tradition, the Narasimha, another thing in Buddhism, this Yamantaka practice, as antidotes, because I'm not gonna stop
Mm.
anybody while they're in their growth phase. If they feel like they're connecting and they're opening and it's working, by all means, go for it. What I wanna be able to do is that if somebody flies top speed into a wall, which is kind of what I felt happened to me, I wanna be able to have some of the spiritual information to help them put the
Mhm.
pieces back together. Because that's gonna start maybe to show up more and more, as some of the ex
Mhm.
right now, especially the past 5 years, this explosion of availability of all these things.